Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be the final walkthrough for my massive Citadel project, and I'm just so excited to be able to finally show you guys the finished product. So let's not waste any time and just get right into it. It has 6 scenes from the Citadel arc, some of the most memorable scenes and iconic scenes that I could think of and that would translate well into Lego. Obviously, first up we have the Ascent or the climb scene. It's definitely one of the most recognizable aspects of the Citadel, and it's obviously that huge cliff face that the clones and Jedi have to climb up freehand without any ascension cables, and of course,
the wind conditions are too strong for jetpacks.
They have to climb up without any aid, and if anyone falls, then that would alert the enemy to their position, which of course is what unfortunately happens to Charger. One of the rocks that he puts his weight on gives way and he falls and detonates one of the electro mines. As you can see, I have replicated here. I even went as far as to indicate with the red light in the center of the mine, and I'm just really happy with how that came out. And I used some LightMyBricks Flickr effects boards to have the flashing flickering effect for the electricity jumping between the mines, and I used some Sith lightning pieces and purple bit lights to just really bring home that purple electricity, and the overall result is just so incredible. I just couldn't be happier with how this turned out. And then moving up to the actual entrance point with the ray shield, this was another area of the MOC that I really took my time just getting all of the angles and details just right. And I'm just really happy with the way that I was able to incorporate all those angles into such a small area. It just came out perfectly, and I really couldn't hope for anything better than what I was able to accomplish in the platform, and just moving up all the different lights that I was able to incorporate. I love how bright the red in the ray shield is. It just really brings it to life, as well as the little searchlights on top of the doors and in the corners. And the last thing that I want to highlight for this section is the grate above the entry, which is the only way that they were actually able to get inside the Citadel. Of course, Ahsoka, being the smallest member of the crew and also not originally being assigned to the group, was able to go through the small access panel, and this was a perfect sticker that I found off one of my old ATSD sets. It just has the perfect size and shape for the grate in the show and what I was trying to replicate, and I'm just so happy with this whole section. And while we're on this section, we can talk a little bit about the rockwork. So this is not the conventional style rockwork, obviously using slopes, inverted slopes kind of stacked on top of each other. This is a technique where it is fully snot. This was kind of popularized by Brick Builder Studios and Solid Brick Studios. I was able to replicate the kind of striations that we see in the show, the layered feeling of the rocks, and I was also able to incorporate some purple and pink accents to just really bring home that Citadel feeling rather than it just being fully gray. So I'm very happy with this. There's a couple areas on it that I wish I was able to spend a little bit more time and get a little bit more detail in there, but overall I'm very happy with this technique. I think it was definitely the right way to go, and I honestly couldn't really see doing this MOC any other way. Then moving down to the lava, this is a technique that I have kind of already used in one of my older projects from 2021. It is just using transparent bricks stacked on their sides to build up a flat lava-like surface and then just sticking lights underneath it. This time, however, I was able to incorporate the Flickr effect board with the LightMyBricks lights as well to just bring home more of that organic glowing lava feel, and I just couldn't be happier with it. This was honestly one of the biggest parts of the MOC when I was planning it out that I really wanted to focus on, and I'm just so happy with how it came out. I was able to use a couple shades of yellow to create little round chunks of solid areas so that I could hide the lighting underneath it, and it would just shine up against and kind of spread out to the sides and just illuminate the bricks around it, and I'm just so happy with this technique. I think it turned out better than I was imagining, so I'm very pleased with it. And then the last thing that I want to highlight on the front side of the MOC is obviously that massive Citadel Tower. This was something that I was pretty nervous about going into it. I wasn't sure exactly the techniques that I wanted to use to bring it to life, but honestly, I'm really happy with it. I was able to use one of the techniques that I started off early in the series, basically just going with the front spine of the tower and then marrying up some wedge plates and adding in those side panels with all the different lighting and details incorporated. And then I did the back panel with Lego panel pieces and just going increasingly larger as it went down, and then even wider at the bottom there with a separate panel, just really trying to accurately represent what we see of the Citadel Tower in the show. It isn't really shown in too much detail, but it is a big focal point for the Citadel in the series, so I definitely wanted to replicate it. This was also something that I hadn't really seen anyone try at this scale, so I was super excited to take on the challenge, and I'm just so happy with how it came out. The last thing that I had to tackle on it was figuring how to do the top or the bridge of the tower, and I was able to replicate pretty accurately what we see in the show with those kind of two opposite facing triangles stacked on top of each other. So overall, very, very pleased with the Citadel Tower. This thing is huge. It's almost 3 feet tall, and it's just staggering. I mean, it is absolutely massive. When you first walk into my studio, it just towers over everything else. So really happy with the Citadel. Then going around to the backside, starting off with the first section of interior that I made. This is also kind of chronologically the first scene that we see, that I replicated anyway, in the Citadel arc. This is one of the ambush scenes where we first see the commando droids in action, obviously doing different flips and jumping off the walls and just really being a nuisance to the main characters, but eventually they're able to push through. And here I replicated the wall design as well as the floor design using a ton of complicated snot techniques, and I was able to pack in lights all throughout the wall as well as shining down through the ceiling. So I'm very happy with this design. This was one of the things that took me the longest, just with all of the prototyping and then making specific orders for parts to be able to build it in the correct colors, but I'm just so happy with how it came out. And then moving on to the next scene chronologically, we have the magnet trap, which is right after they take out that squad of commando droids. They keep going down the same kind of hallway, and then they enter an area which has been specifically booby-trapped with a magnetic ceiling, which obviously disarms all of the clones and Jedi, and of course, because of Anakin's magnetic hand, it sucks him up and he just gets fully electrocuted there at the top, which you can see replicated with more of the Flickr effects boards and purple bit lights. So I'm very happy with this section, and it's kind of nice to be able to see the design for the wall and the floor a little bit easier. With that kind of cutout section, you can really see the different light fixtures as well, just going all the way down. Looks really nice and very accurate to the show as well. And it was also really nice to be able to reuse the design that I came up with for the hallway because of how much time I devoted into working on it. So that was a huge plus as well. Then moving up to the next scene, we have the prison block. This came together fairly quickly, and it's not very technique heavy, but it replicates what we see in the show pretty accurately, and I think it's a good addition to the MOC, just being able to have a place for all of the characters to kind of congregate outside of the actual prison cell, which is very technique heavy. This took me a long time to come up with the different techniques for the angled walls. They're pitched backwards as well as not being on a square layout with the rest of the studs. So it was a whole project trying to figure all of that stuff out, but there's lighting in the floor with the red shining up through the grills. And I also opted for some trans red bricks to kind of enhance that red glow effect in this room. I was also able to purchase some Jonak Toys custom torsos for all of the officers, including Captain Tarkin here. So I'm very happy to be able to have those accurately represented and not just have to go for plain black torsos and Imperial officers, which was the alternative. So I'm very happy with that. And also, while I'm on the subject of the minifigures, we can take a couple seconds just to talk about those briefly. They are all custom minifigures aside for the Evan Peel, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. Those are taken from sets with just different accessories kind of swapped in and out to make them look a little bit more detailed. I do only have one set of figures, so I designed the MOC in such a way that I was able to move all of the figures into each scene and be able to do it that way rather than having to buy multiple sets of figures to fully kit out the MOC. So those were all sent over by my good friend Trey, or Bricks to You. So a huge shout out to him for providing the figures for this project. And then moving on to probably the biggest and most important scene in the Citadel arc. This is obviously the landing pad featuring my custom Separatist shuttle. I do have instructions available for purchase up on Rebrickable, so you can check that out. Link will be in the description. Basically, it is designed around the cockpit for the Pagani Utopia, and it is a little bit under minifigure scale, but I did that on purpose so that it wouldn't take up too much space on the back side of the MOC, because I was working with pretty tight constraints for what I was able to include. So I'm very happy with that design. And then moving down to my custom crab droid as well. This one has free instructions available, so if you're interested, I'll have a link in the description for that. And this just came together right at the end while I was working on this scene specifically. I really wanted to have the crab droid represented because it is a primary focus in this scene. The Separatists come out in force trying to stop the Republic forces from leaving with the Nexus route coordinates. So this was something that I definitely needed to incorporate, and I'm really pleased with the design I came up with. It is obviously based off of the Clone Wars style, and I know a lot of people are enjoying it as well. I've already had a couple people go ahead and build it for themselves, so I'm very happy with that design. Then just kind of taking a step back to look at the entire scene as a whole. Yeah, there's a lot here. It is a big landing pad, as you can see, with a white circle, because that is what we see in the primary scene where Echo sacrifices himself trying to stop the commando droid from blowing up the shuttle with this turret, as you can see here. This is before the commando droid goes and hops up there, so it is being manned by one of the B1 battle droids, but really happy with this turret design as well. It was a little bit of a pain to get the lights to string through for the windows to be illuminated without the wires being visible anywhere on that. They just go through the core all the way down into the internal structure of the MOC. So I'm very happy with that, but these came together fairly quickly as well, just looking at multiple different scenes and screenshots that I pulled from the episodes, trying to replicate them as well as I could. And I did go ahead and throw in these two little lightsaber bars, acting as some of the shots being fired at the shuttle. So I'm really happy with that little detail. It's not something that you can really see from the front side, but I'm pretty happy with it. It just adds a little bit more to the scene. And then going down, we have some of the crates that the main characters are hiding behind, as well as Anakin hopping up and kicking one of the droids off their staff. Really happy with this scene. There's just a lot of details and different angles. As you can see, this wall here is fully at an angle, the entire thing meeting up nicely with some wedge plates at the top there. So very interesting techniques going on here, as well as with the door. And I have some lights in there too. Have the three shining down towards the ground, and the little control panel also being lit up. So really happy with this scene. Probably the one that I spent the most amount of time on, and just packed it full of details, as many as I could, and I'm just really happy with how it came out. Now we move on to the final scene in the MOC. I think in terms of scale, this is the biggest scene on the entire MOC, and it is the extraction zone, or the escape from the Citadel. As you can see, it has the massive rounded circular rock face there. Super complicated to figure out, with a bunch of different mixel joints and hinges to get that round shape meeting up nicely without too many cracks or anything like that. We also have Obi-Wan here flying on a staff when he steals a staff from a droid, kind of a recurring theme in Clone Wars. And again, we have more of that same lava technique with the snot and incorporating flicker effect lighting underneath it. The glowing effect on the rocks just totally adds so much more to the MOC. And then talking a little bit more about the round rock work as well, we have the little wall that kind of flattens out to the plateau where the characters run down and see the extraction zone, then start climbing across some of those cables, as you can see represented here by this clone officer crossing over the lava. One of the areas that I'm most proud of on the MOC is this little rock section in the middle of the lava, so very happy with how that came out. We just got Captain Rex and Captain Tarkin on there just firing away at some of the droids flying around. I did go ahead and take the creative liberty of adding in some droids also on the ground, kind of opposing the main characters with the crab droid. I know it doesn't technically happen in this scene, but towards the end of the scene we do have crab droids swarming the extraction zone, and there are a couple other scenes where they encounter droids that I wasn't able to include in the MOC. So I just took the liberty to add that in here kind of as a blend of multiple scenes. So I'm really happy with that. And we do have one of the commando droids flying on a staff as well, chasing down Obi-Wan. So very happy with this. And also need to give a huge special thanks to my friend Mason, or M5 Builds. He sent over his custom Wolfpack gunship, and I was able to kit it out with a floodlight for the scene as well. And it really helps to tie it into the end of the episode where Plo Koon and Wolf do come to rescue the survivors. And with that being said, I think that just about wraps up everything with the Citadel, all of the different scenes that I was able to include, and just everything that went into this project. It was just a huge undertaking. I definitely bit off more than I could chew with this one, but I'm just very excited to be able to add this to my portfolio. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. It really boosts the video and helps push it out to more people, and subscribe if you want to see what I have planned next. If you guys are interested in following along with the process for building a huge MOC like this, then go ahead and click the link that you see on your screen right now. That is the building series that I made on this, outlining the entire process of building it, as well as the picture slideshow with some dynamic shots that I took of the project. But that's all that I have for you guys today, so thank you again so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.